Hello, this is a Fiat Uno. No, it's a Fiat Dot, or to be precise, a Fiat Punto. It's covered in this green paint called illicit yellow. Like an automotive sherbet lemon, it sits in the yard, waiting for a damning appraisal. That's not going to happen, is it? Fact is, I think I'm going to like this car even before I've driven it. There's two reasons for thinking that. The first one is that I didn't like it when it was new in the 90s. And the second one is that I did like it 20 years later. The Roverman bought a Fiat Punto. That's going back about 7 years. But it was yellow, not a car called yellow, but actually being green. And it was a 3-door. And I think the 3-door is probably the correct amount of doors for a car of this size. Not that I'm judging, because in actual fact, many people want a small car. They just want to have some more doors to make accessibility for being in the back easier. Ooh, comfortable. The Fiat Punto came out in 1993. Its designer was Giorgetto Giorgiano I can never pronounce his name. This is the first generation. Then there was a generation 2, which was almost exactly the same as this, but with a slightly different face. And then the third one was completely different. They say that all modern cars look the same, don't they? And that's because they kind of do. Without a badge on there, you do struggle. But it can be a similar thing for the 90s. I mean, this is quite clearly a Fiat Punto, but it's always a case of when you get close enough, you can see something else there, as long as you ignore that. Like Volkswagen Polo. Like, actually, what else? For some reason I started that vocal perambulation there without really knowing exactly where I was going. It's because it's just something I spot. But this time I didn't. This Fiat doesn't really look like any other car, even though it doesn't have any massively discerning features. Like the bonnet, it's just a almost flat bonnet with a bit of a curve. And the headlamps, which are just rectangular-ish with smooth bits, and the same can be said for the indicator and the wing and the door, kind of lacking any real feature. The rear lamps that could be, I suppose, Ford Fiesta of about 10 years later. The little, very subtle scoop in the boot. It doesn't have anything major, but overall it does look so distinctive as a Fiat, which is a good thing. Remember the acronym for Fiat, which was Fix It Again Tomorrow? And I've never really known anyone have any real issues with Fiat as far as reliability is concerned. I think they're actually quite durable cars. I wonder if this one is. This car has a slightly horsey face, and I don't expect anyone to really agree with that, but that's what I think, and so it's going in the video. Horsey faces aside, I wonder what the door shut sounds like. I anticipate not particularly exciting. A bit on the flabby side. And this one, a bit on the flabby side. Cars of this era that were really expensive didn't have flabby sounding doors, but have you noticed recently, flab has become fashionable? Yeah, flabby sounds have become really fashionable. I'm going to get inside the Fiat Punto and have myself a little sit down. As cheap cars go, this wasn't even that cheap a cheap car. It was an expensive cheap car, which you can tell by the interior. It has electric front windows. It has leather on the door cards. Whether that is real leather or not, I can't quite tell. But that is real leather coated seats of good quality as well. Good quality and actually very, very comfortable. What a lovely seat this is. That means that seat's going to be lovely as well, because it's almost the same as this one. We can expect the quality of the materials on the dashboard to be a bit on the scratchy side, but actually they're not. This dashboard still feels firm. It's not scratchy material. In fact, it's not horrible material on the door cards either. Only when we get to the B pillars and the A pillars and things where we start to find some cheaper material. The carpet, of course, isn't going to be anything premium, but then that's considered as not in the slightest bit important these days anyway. The gear stick looks a bit like a cloaked runaway, and is that an original radio? It might well be. These all feel quite good. Yeah, buttons to press. Buttons to press, yep, and vents that are a bit sticky, a bit squeaky. And on the dashboard, of course, we have a replica of somebody else's car and a B. That's a proper Italian horn, the kind of horn made to use lots and lots. It's not showing your anger at anyone, it's just a frustration release device, and everybody accepts it. So it has to have the right kind of tone so it doesn't get mixed up with wanting to kick someone's head off. Will there be room for a full-sized man to sit in the back comfortably? Yeah, there's not lots of leg room, but it's not really bad. And from here you can feel the quality of the other side of the seats, and there's enough headroom as well. Although sat quite bolt upright, I reckon I could tolerate being a back seat passenger for about 5 miles. This is the fuel filler flap. You pull your finger there, open it up, unscrew, and then you can put some unleaded fuel in there, which goes down a tube and into the fuel tank. Not to be mixed up with this here, which tells you not to put fuel in there. Okay, so even if you go to the wrong side of the pump, do not open up that and put unleaded fuel in there, because something terrible will happen. Consider yourself told. No, not really. There's the latch. And here is the boot, which is of a good size for a car of this length. It's quite deep, but it's not very long. It's quite wide, but it's also being closed. That was nice. I found the release lever straight away, which is nice because sometimes that doesn't happen. Very important that we have an engine under the bonnet of this car, because this will propel the car forward with the fuel that you put in via the fuel filler tube into the tank, and then pumps from there to the front of the engine where it can be ignited and send you on your way. Now this is a 1.2 75 brake horsepower engine, which I'm sure is plenty enough to make the car go quite nicely. Not only that, this short bonnet is well and truly long enough to actually accommodate it, because we can see everything. We can see a gap, we can see power steering, we can see an alternator, we can see the air intake on the top of there. And is it going to be an injection or a carburetor? I can't quite tell. I think it's a carb. Yep, definitely not a carburetor. That is right on the top of the engine, telling me straight away, yet I was still looking to see whether it was one or not. DD battery, some sort of thing that doesn't have an end, and an ABS unit as well, which was actually quite a novelty on a small car at the time. As to be expected, this is one of those cars you simply jump in, turn the engine and start driving. Nothing to confuse you here. Nothing at all. Exhaust note, quite nice actually. It's got the possibility of something fruity going on, like the promise that maybe it's going to be a bit sporty, but not a big promise. It's not coming up with a whole load of exciting possibilities. It's just, oh, can you hear that? Maybe this is going to be sporty, and that's all. This car only has 81,000 miles on it. And bear in mind, it'll be 30 years old next year, so it's perfectly okay to have a few little issues, but rust doesn't appear to be one of them. What else doesn't appear to be one of them is a knackered or smoky engine. It's just nice. It probably don't feel that different to what it did when it was new. Feels like it can just about keep up with normal traffic without actually thrashing it. Not that I'm going to, but engines in Fiat were somewhat designed to be thrashed, because that's just the way you're supposed to drive them. And I don't know why. Why do you want to thrash it? It's actually quite lively, really. Lively in many ways. It's not fast, but it does pick its feet up. It's going along at a perfectly okay speed for a dual carriageway like this, without any hint of it being uncomfortable or wishing it wasn't doing it or doing something completely different. Brakes are a bit on the spongy side. The steering feels ever so slightly like it's had some use, and the back end feels ever so slightly like it's hit a few speed humps, but the engine just sounds fantastic. There is a slightly age-related floaty feeling to it, but it's only slight, and I think I could live with this every day as an everyday retro classic. It's actually quite pleasant. Not so long back, a car of this age would feel really, really old, and you could start it up and get it out of the garage and it would be like, oh, do I have to? Can't we just go on a really sunny day? It might rain soon, don't you? Have you not looked at the weather forecast? And it'd have that kind of attitude about it that would make it not really a usable everyday car. You can't say the same for something like this. For this era of cars, things were working out quite well. And even something like the Fiat Punto, which was cheap motoring, designed for people that wanted a new car but didn't have loads of money to spend on it. The Punto was just a small car designed for going shopping in, just like the Fiesta, just like the Corsa. Yet, it's a better car. There's some snobbery around Fiat that I think is completely unjustified, because the alternative would have been a Fiesta, would have been a Corsa, and I don't think either of those two cars would have held up quite as well as this has done. It's got a few rattles here and there, but it's really not very much to put in a video. You really couldn't say that about a Ford. Yet, those buying Fords would look at the Fiat and go, hey, look, you've bought a Fiat. I hope you've got your socket set ready. That makes it sound like Ford owners were just a bit on the pompous side, doesn't it? But I think they were, and I think they can be. I've met a few Ford people who are very nice. Notice the word few rather than lots. This just joins a whole list of 30-year-old cars that can be used every day and enjoyed without having to worry about them pissing oil out everywhere and becoming a pain in your big bottom, or small bottom, depending on what size of bottom you actually have. I don't know, I don't want to know. Do not tell me how big your bottom is, because that really is not in the slightest bit relevant to this video, and I've got absolutely no idea why I put it in. Thank you. Some sort of conclusion is required, isn't it? What is the conclusion? What do I think of it? What I think of it will possibly be different to what you think of it. But I think it's really rather lovely. I think it's a charming little car. It's not the most exciting in any way to look at or drive, but it just does its job, and it does it with a smile on its face. And I appreciate that. Because one thing I don't like are cars or people who do things and complain about it. And that one wasn't complaining. So well done Fiat, and well done this car. On a more personal level, I think the colour is brilliant, but I think there are too many doors. I think it could do with being just a bit more, just a tad more get up and goey, but actually not that much, because those kind of things do spoil a car like this. So in actual fact, I'm going to already do a U-turn and say I was completely wrong 5 seconds ago. So thank you very much for watching this video, and thank you very much for being a subscriber and a channel member and somebody who likes things and shares things and all these other kind of things you can do on YouTube should you so wish to. Bye.